Hi folks, welcome once again to a Gaz Labs teeny tiny video in internet land. Today I'm going to be looking at a couple of magazines which have come out for May. So first of all we've got Practical Wireless and we've got Radcom. Hurrah! Very briefly I'm going to whiz through Practical Wireless. A couple of things in the news. We've got a couple of things I'll talk about in the news articles there. I'll also express my opinion on the sort of budget range of handhelds now, and then we'll just quickly run through some of the other things. First of all, this is kind of like the news sort of thing. This is obviously on everyone's mind right at the moment. And with that in mind, I notice here that there's the annual planning for the planning is well underway for the annual RSGB convention. I think that might be pie in the sky. I think this is going to have a knock-on effect for the next probably year, 12 months sort of year. And I'm not sure that we're going to see much in the way of conventions and sort of like big gatherings of people. I think it would be foolhardy to let the baton go on this too quickly. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think this may not be going ahead. I think they should make a contingency in that they have some kind of webinar thing going online, just to make sure that it has some kind of presence this year. I don't think it's going to happen physically. This one was quite interesting. It made me chuckle. Randomised answers in exam papers. I've heard of randomised questions, but not answers. You know, what's the difference between a Yagi and a vertical? An elephant. Now that's a pretty random answer, but I don't think it'd be the right one. So I don't know what that all means is. But they don't go much in the way of explaining what it is. It's certainly not, doesn't jump out at you, let's put it that way. But what they do is they sort of like meander off into this thing about call signs and G2 call signs with two trailing letters and stuff. So there's an underlying tone there, which is not, I don't think is all that savoury, to be fair. I have noticed in my time with radio hams and radio amateur, the hobby, is that there does seem to be, or has been in the past, and I hope it's all going to go away, some sort of call sign snobbery. And the reality is that actually there are some bright sparks in all walks of life and all call signs. So I do hope that that is not anything to do with that, or at least a lingering kind of thing to it. Yeah, it's got this weird sort of kind of car park attendant sort of attitude stamped on it. So I did mention that I would talk about these sort of cheaper handhelds. I'm finding that this is actually starting to become an irritant now, where there's a lot of cheap handhelds just like battering the market. You know, every one of them is trying to, you know, get the sale. And I just think that these companies now need to just concentrate on one or two models and actually get them absolutely perfect, because right at the moment they've kind of, it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing which bit will stick, and not any of it is perfectly cooked. And you know, they need to get each one of these really right, but what they really need to do above all is get the software right. It's not right yet. The firmwares need to be sort of like perfect, and the radio, before they start creating another model. That to me is now what's happening, and it just it's driving me insane, to be honest. There's so many different types of radio now. So I think we've all got to now start to think about the quality of the product, not so much the price. I think that's important going forward, because I think we're going to get a lot of this in the next, you know, because I just think that there's a danger of, you know, us watering down the market quite a lot with this type of cheap, inferior type sort of stuff. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's not going to be in the same league as sort of something that maybe twice the price and kind of, and will have a better resale and life expectancy. Just my 2 pennies worth. If you don't agree, then fine. You can put your opinion down below in the description, in the comments, but just keep everything respectful. Antennas. This particular one is in of. They look like they're well made. They are what they are. I'm surprised all this information isn't in the instructions. I can't see why or how you would make an article out of putting an antenna together. But anyway, there you go. They look very well made, for sure. They look like they're captive nuts. One of my pet hates, captive nuts. Absolute pet hate. But anyway, there you go. I doubt there's another way they can do it. And this guy here, Joe Chester, MW1 MWD, has visited the magic of a piece of wire, and he's quite right. But don't, if you're beginning out in ham radio, don't think you've got to buy everything. You haven't. This box M0 CVO antennas is actually is a homebrew kind of business venture. It's very, very good. It's probably a nice antenna, but don't think that you've got to buy them all the time, because actually you can make this, and you can buy all these components that he's using here off of eBay and Amazon and the like, and you can do exactly the same antenna, and you could probably save a bit of money, or maybe even pay the same money, but learn something along the way. So don't think that you have to do everything as a black box. It's not the case. You can make this sort of stuff. Right, so what we've got here, end of an era, valve and vintage. Now, I have been into valve and vintage radios in the past. I mean, back when I was a kid, 11 years old, we used to play over the dump. And then we used to bring all the radios home, much to my mum's annoyance. Get the things working. We used to listen to a radio show every Saturday night called Roots Rockers on Capital Radio, and that was run by a DJ then, what was his name, David Rodigan. And they were good days, good times. But obviously when I got to about sort of 17, 18 and discovered cars, motorbikes and girls, my mum said they've got to go, and so yeah, I threw them all out. I wish I hadn't now. Some of them might be worth a few quid, who knows. So what else we got in here? It looks like there's another article there tucked away. Fiberglass antennas. Well, this is another kind of comes on from that end-fed wire chap, and this is another one where you as a beginner may have already decided you need some kind of antenna. And Don is a jolly nice chap, and he's been around for a while, understands all this sort of stuff. And this is a nicely written article talking about how to just use a basic fiberglass pole as an antenna. These can be very cheap and very simple and very, very efficient way of getting a signal into the sky. So again, it's quite a nice little touch. Digital remote shack. This is starting to come to the fore nowadays. People, where they get a lot of QRM at home, are having to look or starting to look further afield to put their stations. Good thing, good idea, and it's sort of something that I would consider in the future. And you can see them here running various digital modes, including FT8, which seems to divide opinion. Talking about remote stations, obviously I have to mention MLS because I keep myself in a job. The Sun SDR 2 Pro are fantastic for remote operation, really good. And some of these SDR plays really good for remote receiving. Use SDR console, fabulous for doing that. Really good. The IC 9700, that one, I've actually got that at home at the moment. I've got the demo one. I'm starting to really love that radio. It's a bit restrictive on frequencies, but you know, hey ho. HF highlights, nothing in there that interests me. Might interest you, who knows. Someone here is putting on looks like a CB connection, UHF, sort of basic plug. I much prefer the compression type fittings now. M&P do such a good range. I'm spoilt now. I can't go back to this type of connector. They're just they aren't so good, and much harder to fit as well. So yeah. Someone here is building an 80 metre AM Class E transmitter. Again, this is a nice little project, I suppose. Talking about design, you learn a lot from this sort of project. And you know, these guys been around for a while, and they know their stuff when it comes to that. So it's always good to learn. Now this one here is special interest societies. Now I've got a soft spot for GQRP club, and I was basically turned on to those from my friend Bill, who unfortunately silent key now, but he was a real big sort of home brewer, and he basically got me so interested, hooked in radio, and then he stopped me from. I almost gave up. Amateur radio from the get-go, because I didn't get into it for radio. I got into it because of electronics, and I really struggled with the Morse appreciation. Number one, I just can't stand Morse, and I make no bones about it. The beeping just drives me nuts, and we had to do a Morse appreciation test. I didn't get along very well with it, and the guy that did that was a very difficult man, I didn't get on with it at all, and he put me off it. I passed the test, and he did a few other things as well later on in the months that followed. I did my intermediate, and I purposely didn't go back to that same club to do it. Even though I've travelled out of my way to do it. But if it wasn't for Bill and the Sprat magazines, I would never have stayed in amateur radio, because I thought that Morse code people, Bill was a Morse code type of person. He never used voice, he would only ever use Morse and QRP, and he worked everywhere. I mean, that man worked so much stuff. But he got me into this magazine, and this really saved my neck, because I just thought that if everyone's like that, an absolute gitbag, that I wasn't going to enjoy amateur radio. And Bill sort of said, no, stick with it. Not everyone's like that, that sort of stuff. So I did, and I found eventually that you don't have to get on the radio to enjoy amateur radio. You can. There's loads of things you can do. I just enjoy the problems more than anything, and the problem solving and building the electronics. And this Sprat magazine saved me from basically chucking in the cloth, basically. Some of the others I've not really heard of, the little clubs in there. Some might float your boat. That's the good thing with amateur radio. I've obviously heard of Raynet, and I've heard of Bylara, but so there you go. This is a nice Sunday afternoon project, this one. This is an active antenna amplifier. Nice little project to play with. Basic transistors, really simple passive components. Nice little project to have a little play with a PP9 by the looks of it. Fabulous. Work well with something like an SDR play. Really good. Nice Sunday afternoon when there's rubbish on the telly. It's Tim Kirby, pops in the shop every now and again. This is an interesting antenna design, or a rotator and kind of tilt mechanism. I've built something like this in the past using an Arduino, and actually it's very simple to do this in some cases. It's a bit of fabrication and a bit of Joe Bodgery, but yeah, you can get these to work really well and really fast because of the length of the shafts and everything. It really does fly. Right, what else we got here? Nothing really grabs me in there. So this here actually is sort of something that I know a reasonable amount about. For those of you who don't know, I started off life as a sheet metal worker, and I worked for a company. We used to make, if you live up north and you remember the fish and chip vans that used to come around, that used to sell fish and chips and donuts and stuff. On the Saturday morning there used to be donuts, I think, and in the evenings I think they used to go round on like a Wednesday evening and sort of like a Friday evening. You used to buy your fish, you used to stop at the end of the road and you used to get your chips. We used to make the chip vans the pans that used to go in there, and yeah, really good company to work for. And the two old boys that used to do the fryers, the things they did, it was amazing, and I mean truly amazing, all hand marked out. And this kind of reminds me of that. It's an old-fashioned way of doing it. It's a bit sort of basic. They're using sort of paperwork to mark everything out, but somewhere up here I've got a book that tells you how to mark this sort of stuff out, and it is a science and a half, I promise you, it really is. Some of these old boys that used to do these kind of lobster tails and lobster bends and all these pipes and stuff were amazing, truly amazing. They were mathematicians, I promise you. You might see this old boy covered in certain grinding dust and sheet metal all over around him, but he was a proper mathematician. Raspberry Pi, love a Raspberry Pi. This one's talking about APRS. You can do your own whisper type of thing with Raspberry Pi using something called LC, as in L and C. There's a program that you can do to design the filters, design a little filter, and you can make a nice little whisper transmitter. Rallies and events. Again, I think we're going to find a lot of these cancelled. I just feel it. I just got a sneaky suspicion. Boring. Okay, ionosodes. Is that ionosonders? Whatever they are. Don't know. Interesting article talking about two antennas that are one inside the other, and they've obviously done some modelling here, talking about them. I'll have a read up on that later. I do love a loop. Letters, they always make me laugh. Some of them are incredibly rude, want for the better word. Some are just funny, and some are very genuinely kind. And that pretty much looks like it. One last little project, looks like another Sunday afternoon sort of project, a VU PPM and signal meter module. Something nice to play with and get working quickly. Peak meters, we sell those at work, by the way, and I use these things here. They're really good, and we also do the calibration as well, so if you need anything like that done, do give us a shout. We do all the meters and we do all the calibration. What else we got? Anything? And of course us again. That one sums up practical wireless. So let's get on to Radcom. Right, Radcom. There's us. What else we got in here? Right, I've put a little marker in here. So virtual. Well, why did I want to see this? QSO party changes. License validation. No, I don't know why I put that one in there. New videos. Oh, maybe the RSGB launched a YouTube channel, or they've uploaded to their YouTube channel. So go give that a look as well, because they're starting to do some of the things on YouTube. Again, this is kind of a bit more on the RSGB convention, and also the fact that the RSGB have changed some bits and pieces on the contesting or as a result of this malarkey that's going on in the UK right now. RSGB has responded to Ofcom consultations that have launched in January. Expansion on the Wi-Fi and 5.6 gigahertz band is starting to overlap amateur interests in 5725, 5850 range. Not sure how many people that's going to affect. I don't know too many people that play in that band. What else? SDR Play, they're actually offering clubs free radios, up to a certain amount. They're donating, they've set aside a small stock of them, and they're donating. So if you haven't applied, see if you can apply. It's all in the information. Go visit their website, sdrplay.com, their website. What else we got? Yeah, this was another one. There's a new version of SDR Uno for SDR Play. Again, this is a nice product. It will bring me on in a minute to the VDSL monitoring. This is a calibrated piece of software. They've now added the support for plugins. Now, that's a really big thing, really important, that one. That has been long overdue for sort of third-party developers to produce plugins for it. That's been available now on SDR Sharp for forever, but this is now starting to come to this. The other thing is as well is the Kerberos SDR. This is a direction finding and radar type device. This is really for someone that is willing to go the extra mile in learning, because this is complicated. It's not easy to do. I've been playing with this with direction finding and I've not managed to get it to work yet. Hands up, I didn't get it to work. And the comments I had recently on one of the videos I did for work, which were something along the lines of, you didn't show us it working, therefore you didn't get it working because you are so thick. Well, it was along those lines. You're right, I didn't get it working, but it wasn't for the want of trying. Unfortunately, this virus malarkey has stopped play, and I haven't touched it since. I have it all set up. I have it sort of working on the phone. I need to finish it and work out what's going wrong. But these things take time, and that's my enjoyment. Okay, I love the challenge of getting that to work. It does take a time, and I do throw my dummy out the pram a few times, but yeah, I do get there. Right, so again, this is the FTM 300. Looking forward to seeing that. It's going to be an important radio, I think, in the end. Okay, this is this VDSL interference malarkey. RSGB have penned a letter here which they want you to write a version of for yourself and then get it off to your local MP or whatever. I personally think this again is a hiding to nothing. I don't think they could give a monkey's about it. You don't pay for your license, they don't give a monkey's. But again here, I think this is another one. Again, this is where this SDR Uno really comes into its own. It is calibrated to the product, so this is a good one to do, and it's got recording function. Gives you the information that you need to pop into this this software to identify the VDSL sort of stuff. And again, here's the SDR Play available from us. What else? Contesting, boring. Right, BHI. This is an interesting product in that I think it suits certain radios but doesn't suit others. And I've used this product. In fact, I've actually got one of these. I've had it for a long while. And yeah, that does actually work, especially on VHF. Nice product, and Graham's a nice fella as well. He works well with that. Builder radio workshops. I love the idea of this, getting kids involved building stuff. I think electronics is such an interesting hobby for kids and alike that I think this is a good thing. I can't encourage this enough. Always build kits. I mean, this kind of building culture with kids is long gone. I mean, who remembers Lego and who remembers Meccano? Fabulous things when kids used to build stuff and Airfix models. So, but no one does that so much anymore. It's like a long bygone sort of hobby. Another sort of educational type project, SDRFM demodulation, demystifying of. Nice one to follow. Again, this is a Sunday afternoon sort of project to follow through. Right, so Whisper transmission or a transmitter. You can do this with a Raspberry Pi, by the way, as well, and you can just use the straightforward pin out. It gives you about 10 milliwatts or something like that. But do remember, you're going to need some filtering. And you can see here he's actually got like a filter on the back there, low pass filter. Nice project. Again, that one would be a weekend project, I would have thought, to have a little play with. Quite interesting to do, and especially if you can get the code easy. Happy days. What else we got there? Another sort of DX position feature. TVI, a case history. Now TVI for me is sort of almost a thing of the past. I mean, I don't seem to get that. Only time I get anything like that in the house here is with 6 meters. But interesting, very interesting article about sort of filters of some sort of for it, cheap and cheerful. What else we got? That's again. ATV. What else? Oh, antennas. Okay, they're looking at attenuators by the look of it, and filters of some description. Again, I always like these articles because you learn something. Only thing is, there's quite a lot of maths in here, which may not suit everyone, and I wonder if they should also put a very basic explanation next to it rather than putting them in these sort of kind of formulas, because a good deal of people would look at this and it would be like double Dutch. So it would be nice just to kind of lay it out in also in a bit of tradesman's. Bit of HF news, VHF and UHF news, gigahertz band. There's a little article about the 9700. Now that one is interesting because I've got the 9700 home, so I'm keen to have a little read of that. It talks about the 23 SEMS part. Okay, so these are another attenuator type of project. Again, interesting project to play with. What is the function of an antenna? I'm not sure. It's like a hose pipe, but anyway, there you go. So what else we got? That one looks like it might be a bit far-fetched. Disaster communications. The amount of people, I'm sure, getting any benefit from amateur radio and disaster is minimal. I'm sure, and I hope that they do some good. Yeah, we're just whizzing through the detritus. Right, okay. Adverts, I do like an advert, and I was very interested in this Marconi test set, or there's two there. Unfortunately, when I saw where he was, the cost to getting that back out again has got to be ridiculous. Let's get them out. Like I said before, I do like a reader's letter, and there's one here. There's one here is really quite cutting, and I'm really interested. I'm really interested to sort of hear sort of some things, because he was really quite cutting and quite rude, and they printed it. I just thought that actually that wasn't very nice, and I wouldn't have printed that. But anyway, there you go. But I always find that these sort of letters can be a real sort of polarizing sort of thing. Anyway, that is that. We've looked at both of them. I hope that I didn't bore the rear end off of you, and that you'll go out and get these magazines or whatever and have a read and follow up on some of the projects. Yeah, just sort of a Sunday kind of locked in thing. I've got a Coca-Cola there. Don't know where to top it up with vodka. What do you reckon? I've got a Coke there. So I'm going to have that, and I'll see you soon. Bye.